going to be exercise again every day. This is it, okay? One good shake and I should do it. Hopefully have all the ingredients in. There we go. So Irish whiskey works so well in cocktails. It's just how we make it. It just has such a versatile taste. If you're going to compare this to a Scotch or a bourbon, with the Scotch you have that kind of natural smokiness from the peat, which will dominate all other flavours within the mixed drink. Or if you have a bourbon, you have that kind of extra sweetness from the virgin barrels they use. And again, that's going to give you extra residual sweetness. The Irish whiskey, with our kind of natural dry, smokeless fuel, and also our seasoned barrels, so you don't get too much excess oil, I think it makes a perfect balance for all cocktails.
24 hours and then just take it off, you know. You'd have to just make a point. Just to make a point, yeah. So we don't know what's going to happen. We're just keeping us busy anyways.
Consumers are flocking to Irish whiskey really because of its approachability, because of the Irish climate, because of the way that we double and triple distill our whiskey. It's very approachable to consumers and it can be consumed in a whole variety of ways. As a shot, on the rocks, as a long sip, and in cocktails. And indeed, its suitability for cocktails is helping drive sales, particularly among millennials who are buying into cocktail culture.
Okay, and your perception, how has the pub trade developed in recent times?
The pub trade is still going well.
Up to the last decade, it had died out to a large extent, drinking whiskey in public, but it's become de rigueur, it's become hugely popular again with this renaissance of distilleries, and now you have standalone whiskey bars in this, particularly in the cities, which would have been unthought of 40 years ago. You would have thought of cocktail bars, but you never have thought there'd be whiskey bars. So it just goes to show you the power of the renaissance in whiskey drinking in Ireland.
The name whiskey then comes from amongst some Inishkiran who spoke Irish. They called this spirit Ishgabaha, also meaning the water of life. But the English armies that they were trading with had a little bit of a problem pronouncing Ishgabaha, especially after they had a few of them. So Ishgabaha became whiskey and onto whiskey. But it was going in such huge volume to these English armies that the name whiskey stuck to it, and this is where the name whiskey comes from, right here, right beside us on Lough Ree. You have the whole origin of whiskey here, beginning here on Lough Ree.
But you could actually distill legally and safely in this country from the 1600s onwards. The problem was that's very expensive, most poor people can't do that, and you have to pay what's called a malted barley tax. That's a huge problem. The blender usually implies you're keeping the price down. In the 1800s, with the Scots started blending to keep that price down, we started blending to make it more expensive. Single malt isn't necessarily a style of whiskey. Malt is a style of whiskey. The only thing the word single means, and has ever meant, is that it came from a single distillery. Raw barley can make a whiskey very oily, can make it a bit heavier in the mouth, a bit longer lasting. It did receive a bit more aging. This is more to the standard between 5 and 7 years in those bourbon casks.
More often than not, you go into a bar or a pub or a restaurant, you order a glass of whiskey. You don't think where it's come from, you just drink it. But to come in and learn its history, where it comes from, the science involved in distilling of whiskey is extremely interesting.
My water-powered distillery at Kilbeggan is the oldest working distillery in the world. All our machinery dates back to the 1750s.
Over the recent years, we've seen Central and Eastern Europe emerging as a really strong counterbalance to North America. Germany to Russia and everywhere in between are flocking to Irish whiskey. But South Africa, Australia, other markets in Europe, we're seeing that growth, and we believe that growth will continue right throughout the globe, and increasingly in non-traditional markets in Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America.